Section 1 of Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke by Clarence James Dennis. Section 1. Ma. Her poor dead pa, she says, he kept a store, and then she weeps and stares hard at the floor. 'Twas through his death, she says, we was reduced to this, she says, and then she weeps some more. Her pa, she says, me poor late husband kept an hay and corn store. He'd no faults except him fallin' heavy off a load of chaff, which killed him on the 'struth, but how she wept. She blows her nose and sniffs. He would ha' made, she says, a lot of money in the trade, but him took off so sudden like, we found he hadn't kept his life insurance paid. To think, she says, a child of mine should be reduced to workin' in a factory. If her poor pa, he hadn't died, she sobs. I says it was a bit of luck for me. Then I gets red as hell, that is, I mean. I says I might have never met Doreen if he had not, and here I lose me block. I hope, I says, he snuffed it quick and clean. And that was how I made me first debut. I dodged it cunnin' for a month or two. Doreen, she says, you'll have to meet my ma some day, she says, and so I seen it through. I pictured some stern female in a cap who puts the fear of God into a chap. And here she was, a-weepin' in her tea and drippin' moisture like a leaky tap. Two dilly sort of dogs made out of delf stares hard at me from off the mantelshelf. I seemed to sympathise with them there pups. I felt so stiff and brittle like meself. Clobber, me trousseau head to foot was new, got up regardless for this interview. Stiff shirt, a Yankee suit split up the back, a tie with yellow spots and stripes of blue. Me cuffs kept playin' with me nervous fears. Me patent leathers nearly brought the tears. And there I sits with, yes, mum, thanks, indeed, me stand-up collar soarin' off me ears. Life's hard, she says, and then she brightens up. Still, we have always had our bite and sup. Doreen's been such a help, she has indeed. Some more tea, Willie? Have another cup. Willie? Oh, hell! He was a flamin' pill. A moniker that always makes me ill. If it's the same to you, mum, I replies, I answer quicker to the name of Bill. Up go her hands and eyes. That vulgar name! No, Willie, but it isn't all the same. My future son must be respectable. All right, I says, I suppose it's in the game. Me future son, she says, right on from this, must not take anything I say amiss. I know me duty by me son-in-law, so Willie, come and give your ma a kiss. I done it, though I don't know how I did. Dear boy, she says, to do as you are bid. Be kind to her, she sobs, my little girl. And then I kissed Doreen, says she, ah, kid. Doreen! And how her pretty eyes did shine. No sight on earth or heaven's half so fine. And as they looked at me, she seemed to say, I'm proud of him, I am, and he is mine. There was a sort of glimmer in her eye, an happy, nervous look, half proud, half shy. I seen her in me mind behind the cups, in our own little Kipsy by and by. And then when Ma-in-law and me began to talk of household things and scheme and plan, a sudden thought fair jolts me where I live. These is me women folk, and I'm a man. It's what they call responsibility. All of an heap that feeling come to me. And somewhere in me head I seem to feel a sneakin' sort of wish that I was free. Here's me who never took no heed of life, investin' in a ma-in-law and wife. Someone to battle for besides meself, something to love and shield from care and strife. It makes you solemn when you comes to think what love and marriage means. Oh, strike me pink. It ain't all sighs and kisses, it's your life. And here's me tremblin' on the bloomin' brink. Her poor dead pa, she says, and gulps a sob. And then I tells her how I got a job. Her stormin' down at Jones's printin' joint, a decent sort of cop at 50 bob. Then things get 'ome-like, and we talks till late, and tries to tease Doreen to fix the date. And she gets sudden soft and tender-like, and cries a bit when we parts at the gate. And as I'm moochin' homeward from the car, a sudden notion stops me with a jar. What if Doreen, I thinks, should grow to be a fat old weepin' willow like her ma? Oh, 'struth, it won't bear thinkin' of. It's crook. And I'm a mean, unfeelin' dog to look at things like that. Doreen's Doreen to me, the sweetest peach on which a man was shook. Her poor dear pa, I s'pose he had his day, and kissed and smooged and loved her in his way, and wed and took his chances like a man. But, God, this splicin' racket ain't all play. Love is a gamble, and there ain't no certs. Some day, I s'pose, I'll get wise to the skirts, and learn to take the bitter with the sweet. But strike me purple, Willie, that's what hurts.
End of section 1. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 2 of Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke by Clarence James Dennis. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 2. Pilot Cove.
Young friend, he says, young friend, well, spare me days. You'd think I was his own white-headed boy, the queer old finger with his gentle ways. Young friend, he says, I wish you both great joy. The language that them parson blokes employ fair tickles me, the way he bleats and brays. Young friend, he says. Young friend, he says, yes, my Doreen and me, we're gettin' hitched all straight and on the square. For when I talks about the registry, oh, holy wars, you should have seen her stare. The registry, she says, I wouldn't dare. I know a clergyman will go and see. Young friend, he says. Young friend, he says, and then he chats me straight, and spouts of death and hell and mortal sins. You recognise this step you contemplate is grave, he says, and I just stands and grins. For when I chips Doreen, she kicks me shins. Yes, very holy is the married state. Young friend, he says. Young friend, he says, and then he mags a lot of duty and the spiritual life, to which I didn't tumble worth a jot. I'm sure, he says, as you will have a wife who'll have a noble influence on your life. Who is her guardian? I says, her old pot. Young friend, he says. "Young friend," he says, "I fix your thoughts on high. All marriages is registered up there, and you must cleave unto her till you die, and cherish her with love and tender care. Even in the days when she's no longer fair, she's still your wife," he says. "Right, Buck," says I. "Young friend," he says. "Young friend," he says, I says, "now listen here. This isn't one of them impetuous leaps. There ain't no tart 100th part so dear as her. She has me heart and soul for keeps." And then Doreen, she turns away and weeps. But he just smiles. "You're deep in love, 'tis clear." "Young friend," he says. "Young friend," he says, and tears was in his eyes. "Strive hard. For many, many years I've lived, and I can but recall with tears and sighs the lives of some I've seen in marriage gived. My God," I says, "I'll strive as no bloke strived, for don't I know I've copped a bonzer prize?" "Young friend," he says. "Young friend," he says, and in his gentle way he pats the shoulder of my dear Doreen. "I've solemnized grand weddings in me day, but here's the sweetest little maid I've seen. She's fit for any man to be his queen, and you're more fortunate than you can say." "Young friend," he says. "Young friend," he says, a queer old pilot bloke, with silver hair, the gentle way he dealt with her, the soft and kindly way he spoke to my Doreen, 'ud make a statue melt. I tell you, square an' all, I sort of felt a kiddish kind of feelin' like I'd choke. "Young friend," he says. "Young friend," he says, "you two on Tuesday week is to be joined in very holy bonds. To break them vows I hope you'll never seek, for I could curse them husbands who absconds." "I'll love her till I snuff it," I responds. "Ah, that's the way I like to hear you speak." "Young friend," he says. "Young friend," he says, and then me and he grips. "I wish you luck, you and your lady fair, sweet maid," and softly with his finger tips he takes and strokes me cliner's shinin' hair. And when I seen her standin' blushin' there, I turns and kisses her fair on the lips. "Young friend," he says.
End of section 2. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 3 of Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke by Clarence James Dennis. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 3. Hitched.
"And wilt you take this woman for to be your wedded wife?" Oh, strike me! Will I what? Take her? Doreen? He stands there askin' me, as if he thought perhaps I'd rather not. Take her? He seemed to think her kind was got like cigarette cards for the asking. Still, I does me stunt in this 'ere hitchin' rot, and speaks me piece. "Righto," I says, "I will." "I will," I says, and though a joyful shout came from me bustin' 'eart, I know it did, me voice got sorter mangled comin' out, and makes me whisper like a frightened kid. "I will," I squeaks, and I'd 'a give a quid to 'ave it on the quiet without this fuss, and all the starin' crowd that Ma 'ad bid to see this solemn hitchin' up of us. For richer or for poorer, so he bleats, in sickness and in health, and there I stands, and dunno 'alf the chatter I repeats, nor wot the 'ell to do with my two 'ands. But he don't hurry puttin' on our brands, this white-'aired pilot bloke, but gives it lip, dressed in his little shirt with frills and bands, in sickness and in... Ah, I got the pip! And once I missed me turn, and Ginger Mick, who's my best man, he ups and beefs it out. "I will," he howls, and fetches me a kick. "Your turn to chin," he tips with a shout. And there I'm standin' like a gawky lout. Oh, spare me, but I seem to be all hands, and wonders what he's goin' crook about, with half a mind to crack him where he stands. Oh, love me, but old Ginger was a trick. Got up regardless for the solemn rite. He hawks the bunnies when he toils, does Mick, and twice I saw him feelin' for a light to start a fag, and trembles lest he might, through force of habit like. He's nervous too. That's plain, for all his air of bluff and skite, and just as keen as me to see it through. But, 'struth, the women, how they love this frill! For Auntie Liz and Ma, of course, was there, and Ma's two uncles' wives and Cousin Lil, and half a dozen more to grin and stare. I couldn't make me hands fit anywhere. I felt like I was up before the beak. But my Doreen, she never turns an hair, nor misses once when it's her turn to speak. Oh, strike! No more swell marriages for me. It seems a blinded year afore he's done. We could have fixed it in the registry twice over 'fore this Cove had half begun. I s'pose the women get some sort of fun with all this Guyver and his Nibs's shirt. But seems to me it takes the bloomin' bun, this stylish splicin' of a bloke and skirt. To be your wedded wife, take a pull. What in the hell's he think I come here for? And so he drawls and drones until I'm full, and wants to do a duck clean out the door. And yet, for all his highfalutin' jaw, old Snowy was a real good meanin' bloke. If 'twasn't for the 'oly look he wore, you'd think he'd piled it on just for a joke. And when at last he shuts his little book, I heaves a sigh that nearly bust me vest. But 'eavens, now here's Mother goin' crook, and sobbin' awful on me manly chest. I wish she'd give them waterworks a rest. "My little girl," she howls, "oh, treat her well. She's young, too young to leave her mother's nest." "All right, old chook," I nearly says. Oh, hell. And then we has a beano up at Ma's, a slap-up feed with wine and two big geese. Doreen sits next to me, her eyes like stars. Oh, how I wish their blessed yap 'ud cease. The parson bloke, he speaks a little piece that makes me blush and hang me silly head. He says he hopes our lovin' will increase. I likes that pilot for the things he said. He says Doreen and me is in a boat and sailin' on the matrimonial sea. He says as how he hopes we'll always float in peace and joy, from storm and danger free. Then Mother gets to weepin' in her tea, and Auntie Liz sobs like a winded colt, and Cousin Lil comes round and kisses me, until I feel I'll have to do a bolt. And Ginger gets end up and makes a speech. He'd had a couple, but he wasn't chic. Me cobber here, he says, has copped a peach. Of all the barrow load, she is the pick. I hopes he won't forget his pals too quick, as was his friends in olden days, because I'm trustin' later on, says Ginger Mick, to celebrate the christening. Holy wars! At last Doreen and me, we gets away and leaves 'em doin' nothin' to the scran. We're honeymoonin' down beside the bay. I gives an $50 to the man what drives the cab, and like two kids we ran to catch the train. Oh, strike! I could have flown. We gets the carriage right agen the van. She whistles, jolts, and starts, and we're alone. Doreen and me precious bit of fluff, me own true wedded wife, and we're alone. She seems so frail, and me so big and rough. I dunno what this feeling is that's grown inside me ear that makes me feel I own a thing so tender, like I'd fear to squeeze too hard for fear she'll break. Then with a groan I start to hear a coot call, "Tickets, please!" You could 'a' outed me right on the spot. I was so rattled when that porter spoke. For 'struth, them tickets I had fair forgot. But he just laughs and takes it for a joke. "We must excuse," he says, "new married folk." An' I pays up and grins and blushes red. It shows how married life improves a bloke. If I'd been single, I'd 'a' punched his head.
End of section 3. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 4 of Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke by Clarence James Dennis. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 4. Beef Tea.
She never magged, she never said no word, but sat and looked at me and never stirred. I could 'a' bluffed it out if she'd 'a' been fair narked and let me have it with her tongue. But silence told me how her heart was wrung. Poor hurt Doreen! Gosh, 'struth, I'd sooner fight with 50 men than get one look like that from her again. She never moved, she never spoke no word. That hurt look in her eyes, like some scared bird. "Here is the man I loved," it seemed to say. "He's mine, this crawlin' thing, an' I'm his wife. Tied up for good, an' all me joy in life is chucked away. If she'd 'a' bashed me I'd 'a' felt no hurt. But here she treats me like I was dirt." How is a man to guard agen that look? For other women, when their blokes go crook an' lobs 'ome with the wages of a jag, they smashes things an' carries on a treat, an' howls an' scolds an' wakes the bloomin' street with noisy mag. But her, she never speaks, she never stirs. I drops me bundle, an' the game is hers. Just 2 months wed, 8 weeks of married bliss with my Doreen, an' now it's come to this. What was I thinkin' of? God, I ain't fit to kiss the place her little feet has been. Her that I called me wife, me own Doreen. Fond dreams has flit, love's done a bunk, an' joy is up the pole, an' shame an' sorrow's roostin' in me soul. 'Twas all because of Ginger Mick, that cow. I wish I had him here to deal with now. I'd pass him one, I would. He ain't no man. I meets him Tuesday evenin' up the town. "What ho!" he chips me. "Can you keep one down?" I says I can. We has a couple, then meets 3 or 4 flash coves I used to know, an' has some more. "How are you on a little gamble, kid?" says Ginger Mick. "Last night I'm on 4 quid. Come round an' try your luck at Steeny's school." "No," says me conscience. Then I thinks, why not? An' buy her presents if I wins a pot. A blazin' fool I was. For 'arf a mo' I 'as a fight. Then conscience skies the wipe. Says I, "All right." 10 minutes later I was back once more, kip in me 'and on Steeny Isaac's floor. Me luck was in, an' I was headin' good. Yes, back again amongst the same old crew. An' all the time, down in me 'eart, I knew I never should. Next thing I knows it's after 2 o'clock. 2 in the mornin', an' I've done me block. What odds, I think, I'm in for it all right. An' so I stops an' gambles all the night, an' bribes me conscience with the gilt I wins. But when I comes out in the cold, 'ard dawn, I know I've cruelled me pitch, me soul's in pawn. Me flamin' sins, they hits me in an heap right where I live, for I 'ave broke the solemn vow I give. She never magged, she never said no word, an' when I speaks it seems she never 'eard. I could 'ave sung an 'ymn, I feels so gay. If she'd 'ave only roused I might 'a' smiled. She just seems 'urt an' crushed, not even riled. I turns away an' yanks me carcass out into the yard like some whipped pup, an' kicks meself real 'ard. An' then I sneaks to bed an' feels dead crook. For golden quids I couldn't face that look, that trouble in the eyes of my Doreen. Oh, strike! What made me go an' do this thing? I feel just like a chewed up bit of string, an' rotten mean. For 'arf an hour I lies there feelin' cheap, an' then I s'pose I must 'a' fell asleep. "Here, kid, drink this." I wakes an' lifts me 'ead, an' sees 'er standin' there beside the bed. A basin in 'er 'ands an' in 'er eyes that wiv unshed tears is shinin' wet. The sorter look I never shall forget until I dies. "Here, kid, drink this," she says, an' smiles at me. I looks, an' spare me days, it was beef tea! Beef tea! She treats me like an invalid! Me that 'as caused 'er lovin' 'eart to bleed. It 'urts me worse than maggin' for a week. 'Er 'oo 'ad right to turn dead sour on me, forgives like that an' feeds me wiv beef tea. I tries to speak, an' then I ain't ashamed o' what I did. I hides me face an' blubbers like a kid.
End of section 4. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 5 of Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke by Clarence James Dennis. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 5. Uncle Jim.
"I've got no time for wasters, lad," says he. "Give me a man with grit," says Uncle Jim. He bores his cute old eyes right into me, while I stares hard an' gives it back to him. Then all at once he grips me 'and in his. "Some'ow," he says, "I likes yer ugly phiz. You got a look," he says, "like you could stay, although you mauls King's English when you yaps, an' 'angs flash frills on everything you say. I ain't no grammarist meself, per'aps, but langwidge is an 'elp, I own," says Unk, "when things is goin' crook." An' 'ere he wunk. "You'll find it tough," he says, "to knuckle down. Good farming is a gift, like spoutin' slang. You'll 'ave to cut the luxuries of town an' chuck the manners of this back street gang. For country life ain't cigarettes an' beer." "I'm game," I says Uncle, "put it 'ere." Like that I took the plunge an' slung the game. I've parted wiv them joys I 'eld most dear. I've sent the leery bloke that bore me name clean to the pack without one pearly tear. An' from the ashes of a ne'er-do-well a bloomin' farmer's blossomin' like hell. Farmer, that's me, with this 'ere strong right 'and. I've gripped the plough an' blistered just a treat. Doreen an' me has gone upon the land. Yours truly for the burden an' the 'eat. Yours truly for upendin' chunks of soil, the 'ealthy, 'ardy, 'appy son o' toil. I owns I've hankered for me former joys. I've 'ad me hours o' broodin' on me woes. I've missed the comp'ny an' I've missed the noise, the football matches an' the picture shows. I've missed — but say, it makes me feel fair mean to whip the cat
and then see my Doreen. To see the colour comin' in her cheeks, to see her eyes grow brighter day be day, the new glad way she looks and laughs and speaks is worth 10 times the things I've chucked away. And there's a secret whispered in the dark has made me heart sing like a flamin' lark. Just let me tell you how it come about. The things that I've been through 'ud fill a book. Right from me birth fate played to knock me out. The hand that I had dealt to me was crook. Then comes Doreen and patches up me past. Now fortune's come to bunk with me at last. First off, one night poor Ma gets sudden fits and floats without the time to wave goodbyes. Doreen is all broke up the day she flits. It tears me heart in two, the way she cries. To see her grief, it almost made me glad. I never knowed the Ma I must have had. We done poor Mother proud when she went out, a slap-up send-off trimmed with tears and crape. And then for weeks Doreen she mopes about, and life takes on a gloomy sort of shape. I watch her face get pale, her eyes grow dim, till, like some airy angel, comes old Jim. A cherub togged in sunburn and a beard, and duds that shouted hayseed for a mile. Care took the count the moment he appeared, and sorrow shrivelled up before his smile. He got the hammerlock on my goodwill the moment that he says, "So this is Bill." It's got me beat. Doreen's late pa some way was second cousin to his brother's wife, something like that. In less than half a day it seemed he'd been my uncle all me life. He takes me hand, I dunno how it is. He says, "But, lad, I likes that ugly phiz." And when he'd stayed with us a little while, the house begun to look like home once more. Doreen, she brightens up beneath his smile and hugs him till I kids I'm gettin' sore. Then late one night he opens up his scheme and passes me what looks like some fond dream. He has a little fruit farm, doin' well. He's saved a tidy bit to see him through. He's gettin' old for toil and wants a spell, and here's an 'ome just waitin' for us two. It's hers and yours for keeps when I am gone, says Uncle Jim. "Lad, will you take it on?" So that's the strength of it, and here's me now, a flamin' berry farmer, full of toil, playin' jiu-jitsu with an horse and plough, and coaxin' fancy tucker from the soil, and longin' while I wrestles with the rake for days when my poor back forgets to ache. Me days and nights is full of schemes and plans to figure profits and cut out the loss. And when the pickin's on, I have me hands to take me orders while I act the boss. It's sort of sweet to have the right to rouse, and my Doreen's the lady of the house. To see her bustlin' round about the place, full of the simple joy of doin' things, that thoughtful, 'appy look upon her face that open peace and pride o' labour brings, is worth the crowd of joys I knew one time, and makes regrettin' 'em seem like a crime. And every little while old Uncle Jim comes up to stay a bit and pass a tip. It gives his 'eart just for to look at 'im and feel the friendship in his warm 'and grip. 'Im with the sunburn on his kind old dial, 'im with the sunbeams in his sweet old smile. "I've got no time for wasters, lad," says 'e, "but that there ugly mug o' yourn I trust. An' so I reckon that it's up to me to make a bloomin' do of it or bust. I got to take the backache with the rest and plug along and do me little best. Luck ain't no steady visitor, I know, but now and then it calls, for look at me. You wouldn't take me 'bout a year ago.
free gratis, with a shilling pound of tea. Then in a blessed heap old fortune lands a missus and a farm fair in me hands.
End of section 5. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 6 of Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke by Clarence James Dennis. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 6. The Kid.
My son, them words just like a blessed song is singin' in me heart the whole day long, over and over while I'm scared I'll wake out of a dream to find it all a fake. My son, 2 little words that yesterday was just 2 simple, senseless words to me. And now no man, not since the world begun, made any better prayer than that, my son. My sun and bloomin' air, ours, hers and mine. The finest kid in, the sun don't shine. There ain't no joy for me beneath the blue unless I'm gazin' lovin' at them 2. A little while ago it was just me, a lonely longing streak of misery, and then 'twas her and me, Doreen, my wife, and now it's 'im and us, and such is life. And 'struth, he is kingpin, the head serang. I mustn't tramp about or talk no slang. I mustn't pinch his nose or make a face. I mustn't strike, he seems to own the place. Cunnin', you'd think to look into his eyes. He knew the game clean through, he seems that wise. With her and nurse he is the leadin' man, and poor old dad's amongst the also-ran. Goo goo, he says, and curls his cunnin' toes. You'd be surprised the heaps of things he knows. I'll swear he tumbles I'm his father too, the way he squints at me and says goo goo. Why, 'smornin' here his lordship gets a grip fair on me finger, give it quite a nip. And when I tugs he won't let go his hold, hangs on like that, and him not 3 weeks old. Goo goo, he says, I'll swear you never did in all your natural see such a kid. The cunnin' ways he's got, the knowin' stare, there ain't a youngster like him anywhere. And when he gets a little pain inside, he's dead straight griffin, ain't to be denied. I'm sent to talk sweet nothin's to the fowls, while nurse turns handsprings every time he howls. But say, I'll tell you straight, I've been through hell. The things I thought I wouldn't dare to tell, lest in the tellin' I might feel again one little part of all that fear and pain. It come so sudden that I lost me block. First it was hell for leather to the doc, who took it all so calm he made me curse. And then I sprints like mad to get the nurse. By gum, that woman, but she beat me flat. A man's just putty in a game like that. She owned me happy home almost before she fairly got her nose inside me door. Sweatin' I was, but cold with fear inside. And then to think a man could be denied his wife and home and told to fade away by just one fat old nurse as in his pay. I was too weak with funk to start and rouse. 'Struth, ain't a man the boss in his own house? You go and chase yourself, she tips me straight. There's nothin' now for you to do but wait. Wait? God, I never knew what waitin' meant in all me life till that day I was sent to loaf around while there inside, strike, I couldn't tell you what that hour was like. 3 times I comes to listen at the door, 3 times I drags meself away once more. half dead with fear, half filled with tremblin' joy. And then she beckons me and says, "A boy." "A boy," she says, and both is doin' well. I drops into a chair and just says, "'Ell!" It was a prayer. I feels both crook and glad, and that's the strength of bein' made a dad. I thinks of church when in that room I goes, 'oldin' me breath and walkin' on me toes. For 'arf a mo' I feared me nerve 'ud fail to see 'er lyin' there so still an' pale. She looks so frail at first I dursn't stir, an' then I leans across an' kisses 'er. An' all the room gets sorter blurred an' dim. She smiles an' moves 'er 'ead. "Dear lad, kiss 'im." Near smothered in a ton of snowy clothes, first thing I sees a bunch of stubby toes. Bald 'ead, tomato face, an' two big eyes. "Look, kid," she smiled at me, "ain't 'e a size?" 'E didn't seem no sorter size to me, but yet I speak no lie when I agree. "'E is," I says, an' smiles back at Doreen, "the biggest nipper for 'is age I've seen." She turns away, 'er eyes is brimmin' wet. "Our little son," she says, "our precious pet." An' then I seen a great big drop roll down an' fall kersplosh fair on 'is nibs's crown. An' still she smiles. "A lucky sign," she said. "Somewhere in some old book one time I read, the child will sure be blessed all thro' the years who's christened with 'is mother's 'appy tears." "Kiss 'im," she says, an' I'm afraid to take too big a mouthful of 'im, fear 'e'd break. An' when 'e gets a fair look at me phiz, 'e puckers up 'is nose, an' then — gee whiz! 'Ow did 'e 'owl! In 'arf a second more Nurse 'ad me 'ustled clean outside the door. Scarce knowin' 'ow, I gets out in the yard An' leans against the fence an' thinks reel 'ard. A long, long time I looks at my two 'ands. They're all I got, I thinks. They're all that stands 'Twixt this 'ard world an' them I calls me own. An' for their sakes I'll work 'em to the bone. Them vows an' things sound like a lot of guff. Maybe it's foolish thinkin' all this stuff. Maybe it's childish like to scheme an' plan. But I dunno, it's that way with a man. I only know that kid belongs to me. We ain't decided yet what 'e's to be. Doreen, she says 'e's got a poet's eyes, but I ain't got much use for them soft guys. I think we oughter make 'im somethin' great, a bookie or a champion 'eavy weight. Some callin' that'll give 'im room to spread. A fool could see 'e's got a clever 'ead. I know 'e's good an' honest, for 'is eyes Is jist like 'ers, so big an' lovin' wise. They carries peace an' trust where'er they goes. An' say, the nurse, she says, 'e's got my nose. Dead ring fer me old conk, she says it is. More like a blob o' putty on 'is phiz, I think, but 'e's a fair 'ard case all right. I'll swear I thought 'e wunk at me last night. My wife an' family, don't it sound all right? That's what I whispers to meself at night. Some day I s'pose I'll learn to say it loud An' careless, kiddin' that I don't feel proud. My son! If there's a God who's leanin' near To watch our dilly little lives down here, 'E smiles, I guess, if 'E's a lovin' one. Smiles friendly like to 'ear them words, "My son."
End of section 6. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 7 of Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke by Clarence James Dennis. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Son of the Exiles. Section 7. The Mooch O Life. This evening I was sittin' with Doreen, peaceful and happy with the day's work done, watchin' behind the orchard's bonzer green the flamin' wonder of the settin' sun. Another day gone by, another night creepin' along to douse day's golden light, another dawnin' when the night is gone, to live and love, and so life mooches on. Times I have thought, when things was goin' crook, when hope turned nark and love forgot to smile, of somethin' I once seen in some old book, where an old sorehead asks, "Is life worth while?" But in that stillness, as the day grows dim, and I am sittin' there with her and him, my wife, my son, and strength in me to strive, I only know it's good to be alive. You live, you love, you learn, and when you come to square the ledger in some thoughtful hour, the everlastin' answer to the sum must always be, "Where's sense in gettin' sour?" For when you come to weigh the good and bad, the gladness with the sadness you have had, then him whose faith in human goodness fails forgets to put his liver in the scales. Livin' and lovin', learnin' day be day, pausin' a moment in the balmy strife to find that helpin' others on the way is gold coined for your profit. Such is life. I've studied books with yearnin's to improve, to heave meself out of me lowly groove, and here is all the change I ever got. Hark at your heart, and you can learn a lot. I gives it in that wisdom of the mind. I wasn't built to play no lofty part. All such is welcome to the joys they find. I only know the wisdom of me heart. And ever it has taught me, day be day, the one same lesson in the same old way. Look for your profits in the hearts of friends, for hatin' never paid no dividends. Life's what you make it, and the bloke who tries to grab the shinin' stars from out the skies goes crook on life and calls the world a cheat, and tramples on the daisies at his feet. But when the moon comes creepin' o'er the hill, and when the mopoke calls along the creek, I takes me cup of joy and drinks me fill, and asks meself what better could I seek. And every song I hear the thrushes sing that everlastin' message seems to bring, and every wind that whispers in the trees gives me the tip there ain't no joys like these. Livin' and lovin', wanderin' on your way, reapin' the harvest of a kind deed done, and watchin' in the sundown of your day yourself again grow nobler in your son. Knowin' that every coin of kindness spent bears interest in your heart at cent per cent, measurin' wisdom by the peace it brings to simple minds that values simple things. And when I take a look along the way that I have trod, it seems the man knows best who's met with slabs of sorrow in his day, when he is truly rich and truly blessed. And I am rich because me eyes have seen the love light in the eyes of my Doreen, and I am blessed because me feet have trod a land whose fields reflect the smile o' God. Livin' and lovin', learnin' to forgive the deeds and words of some unhappy bloke who's missed the bus, so have I come to live and take the old mad world as half a joke. Sittin' at evenin' in this sunset land, with her in all the world to hold me hand, a son to bear me name
when I am gone, livin' and lovin', so life mooches on.
End of section 7. End of Bill and Doreen Get Hitched. Selections from The Songs of a Sentimental Bloke by Clarence James Dennis.